resident host and sex expert, Bunny.
That's me. That's me. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Bunny Church. That just seems so wrong to say. Oh my gosh. We've got some good topics on tap today. I'm pretty excited about it. So, number one, good morning. I've got Fort Worth over here, rocking it, being my awesome producer and keeping me on track and making me look good. Life is good there. We've got a huge race going on right outside of our apartment, and so if we hear any commotion, that would be why. So it's just going to be fun all the way around, and I'm excited about it. Let us jump right in. I don't know how people do like 10, 15, 20 minutes of like small talk. I'm like, that's not what people are here for. We're getting in here, getting in and getting it done. So the very first topic on cue is what to do if your girl is gaining weight. This is such a standard problem because legitimately across the board, it's so rare for girls not to gain some kind of weight in dating and engagement and marriage. Every step of the way, girls kind of gain a certain amount of weight. First of all, when you're first dating, she may have relatively good habits or have habits of just not eating at all whenever you first start dating her. But then you start going out to eat, you go out to drinks, she wants to keep up with you, she wants to, a lot of times girls will try and match drink for drink. It's like, it's bad all the way around. So it's just a poor initial diet that establishes a bad habit whenever you're first dating. So inevitably, girls will gain weight just in the dating process, no matter how long or short a time that is. And then if she goes through a breakup, she might like get her feet under you and then kind of jump back into the dating market. But inevitably, whenever a couple gets engaged, let's say, when they start showing all the pictures of their dating life, watch your Facebook. That's kind of where you see this the most. Inevitably, even if they've only been dating a year before they're engaged, she has put on 5, 10, 15, maybe more pounds. It's shocking. It's absolutely, it always surprises us. And that, of course, is even more extreme usually if they started dating in high school and now are adults, have gone through college together, whatnot. But no matter the age, girls tend to gain quite a significant amount of weight, enough to notice, enough to see, enough to change sizes and shapes and have things fit differently whenever you're just dating. Then the engagement period, you would think in theory, should be like a time when she's getting in the best shape of her life ever, so that she'll look as good as she's ever looked in her life for the wedding day. And they sometimes make a kind of effort, but in all honesty, they still are as good as they're going to look for that wedding day for the rest of their lives. And oftentimes anymore, we're seeing more and more unhealthy brides, and that's really sad to see, because when you see an unhealthy bride, you know that when that couple starts to have children, they're going to pass bad genetic information onto those children. They're going to have a harder pregnancy, and they're going to recover slower from their childbirth. So it's just a lose-lose. So I always hate to see overweight, unhealthy brides, because that's as good as it's going to get. It's going to show if they're unhealthy at their wedding day, they're going to struggle with their pregnancies, they're going to struggle with their recovery, and they're always going to have extra weight, with very, 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 very few exceptions. So to fix this, and this applies whether you are already married and your wife is gaining weight or has gained weight, or if you're dating. Catch it as soon as you notice it. Start commenting on it as soon as you see that it's happening. It's something that you have to get hold of early and make sure that she's aware that it's an important factor to your attraction, because an overweight wife will kill sex drive. It kills both of your sex drive. It kills your sex drive because it's not as appealing to look at her. The visual's not as good. She doesn't feel as good. She doesn't respond the same. It kills her sex drive. She's not confident. She doesn't feel good. You can't be carrying around extra weight and actually feel good inside of your body. So not only do you feel like as a female, like you're not as attractive to look at while you're having sex and in these folded up kind of sexual positions that we get to be into, but you don't feel good. Your body is not as naturally responsive to sexual play and sexual arousal because you are not a healthy person. So you need to lead by example. You need to lead by example in your nutrition and in your fitness. But you also need to remember two critical elements. You have a lot easier time losing weight, being tight, being fit, being active, and staying on a diet than she does, no matter what. You've got the testosterone. You've got so many benefits on your side. We, as a whole, as a gender, females need to be carrying a little bit more body fat than males do for our reproductive cycles, for our overall health. We were created to carry a little bit more body fat than males. So therefore, it is actually more difficult for us to lose body fat in a lot of ways. Our estrogen's higher, our testosterone's lower, everything kind of works against us. So what works for you might not work as well for her, or it just won't interest her as much. And if it's something that she won't do because she is having a miserable time doing it, then she won't do it and she won't get the results from it. So number one, lead by example. Don't take her on any of your bro workouts. Find some kind of program that will challenge her, but that she will actually do and enjoy and feel comfortable with to an extent. Doing bar, doing yoga, all of these kinds of things are lovely, but they're not great weight loss exercise programs to get into. She needs to be lifting weights. She needs to be raising her heart rate significantly, and she needs to be in a program where she can do these consistently and with accountability. So this may mean, because you're leading by example, that you have to actually take her by the hand and help her find a program, or find the program for her and hold her accountable for going. Your sex life depends on this. Her sex life depends on this. Her children and her grandchildren and the genetic code that she is passing on depends on this. This is really, I know that Fort Worth and I are in fitness, and so this is a really hot topic for us that we're really passionate about, but it's just so critical to the health not only of you and your sex life and your quality of life now, but moving forward for generations. It's just that important. So lead by example with your nutrition and your exercise. You have good habits. You find her a program that she can stick with and enjoy. And you also have to focus on not taking her out to dinner every single meal. We have friends who, as males, they love to go out. They love to go to restaurants. They love to go to bars. They love to do things and activities that revolve around food and drink. But they also love skinny girlfriends. And the two just don't go hand in hand unless that skinny girlfriend also happens to have a meth habit. Because it's just impossible for girls to walk into restaurants, much less a bar or anything like that, with any regularity and not stay softer than guys tend to like. So just find other things to do with her to have dates. This is where that cheap dates book that I have would come in handy. It's just a way, whether you need to trim your budget or not, it's a great way to have some really great dating ideas that aren't all revolving around sitting at the bar. So just keep that book in mind. Fort Worth will put that in the comments so that you can have it at a quick glance. It's just a great resource for you for some more creative date ideas that don't revolve around food or drink. Because if you have a girl who's struggling with her weight, then you need to get a hold of it, and you need to find things besides sitting at a bar to do. Let's see. Also, we always love to tell this little story, and it won't fail to be mentioned here. One time we were at the grocery store, and in front of us was a couple, and the girl was kind of rifling through the junk food, there at the checkout line. This was back when, people didn't check themselves out. You actually got checked out by an actual cashier back in the good old days, And the man was very quick to say, "Honey, those snacks are for big girls." She put the candy bar down and she moved on. And that kind of stuff sticks. We need to know as females what you find attractive. Not just because we see you looking at porn, not because you have a calendar on your wall with hot girls, but with her, we need to see where you draw the line and what's appealing to you and what's not, and why. I also had another thought that I wanted to lift up. Oh, you need to celebrate even her non-scale victories. You need to encourage her to get to the gym. You need to remind her sometimes whenever she has a gym appointment or a trainer appointment or a class, and maybe she doesn't look like she's going that way. And you need to make sure that she knows that it's important to you that she goes, that she keeps that habit up. She may not always feel like it. In fact, I guarantee she won't, because if she's not already a fitness girl, that habit's not important to her. But she has to know that it's important to you, that she needs to go. She doesn't always have to give her 100%. Sometimes she doesn't have it to give, but she needs to go because the habit is as much a part of those non-scale victories as anything. Also, whenever she is talking, a great way to keep this at the forefront of her mind as it being an important thing to you is if she talks about a girlfriend doing a race, or there being a fitness challenge that somebody's doing, Tough Mudder or whatever it is. So many men are guilty of just kind of laughing and being like, "You could never do that," or well, that would be hilarious, wouldn't it? Instead, encourage her to do it. Even if it sounds completely outlandish and ridiculous, encourage your girl to join in whatever that challenge, whatever that race is, whatever it is, encourage her to do it. Because if she's mentioning it to you, it's not for no reason. She's trying to gauge your response to that, and your response needs to be, you need to do that. Because it will require training, it will require consistency, it will require you to be accountable for this. And that way it just continually drives home the point that good nutrition and good exercise and healthy weight are important to you. Lead by example and encourage her every step of the way. So, cheap dates book, I think that's a great one so that you aren't always seeking out dates at bars where it's not terribly a healthy place to be. It's not a healthy environment, even though alcohol is sex fuel. But I'm hoping you're already having a lot of sex with this girl. So I want to keep the sex more and more frequent and more enjoyable for both of you. Fort Worth, do you have anything to add, or are we getting any good questions?
Do you want to tell them how to find fit girls?
Oh, yes. Thank you. So we have done a couple of podcasts. Fort Worth and I have done one podcast on specifically if your girl is gaining weight, how to address that, where we had a similar discussion to what we just talked about. There are a couple of nuances. Second, if you don't already have a girlfriend or a wife where this isn't necessarily a struggle for you, but you want to make sure that as you're on the dating market that you find girls who have these great fitness habits already, so this is less of a struggle for you as you date. We've also done a podcast on how to find fit girls. So check those two podcasts out. And Fort Worth is putting those in the live chat now. They're so good. Any other questions or anything coming across that I need to be aware of?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And we can always come back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So our second topic is one that is extremely important to, I would say, more of a longitudinal quality of life, but it's something that, again, you need to be aware of. So it's more so that you're looking for these qualities in girls, so you don't have to correct them. So where do you see your girl's priorities failing at home, with the family, in your marriage, and how do you fix it? So many girls, I think, especially right now, and maybe this has always been the problem, since feminism was invented. I would think since women's suffrage, since feminism, bra burning, it's just kind of in a new generation of empowered women now, I feel like, and it's certainly noisier because of the joys of social media. But you have to ask whether she is presenting her best to you, whether she's being present with your children, whether she's being a good daughter or daughter-in-law, or if she is loving and kind to extended family and friends. Is she providing a nurturing home for your family? Is she cooking healthy meals and encouraging family time? Is she agreeable? Does she follow your lead? Does she follow by your example and lead her children to follow by your example? These are all such critical things to kind of look for. Fort Worth and I did a podcast on the one secret characteristic to look for in girls when dating or when wanting to truly find a wife. And that number one, I'll just do a spoiler alert, that number one characteristic that we always find so critical is agreeableness. Is she agreeable? Because if she's agreeable, her attitude doesn't ebb and flow. She trusts you explicitly. She trusts what you say as being truth. She doesn't feel the need to challenge you at every step. She is a more even-keeled wife and mother. And she doesn't, most of the time, truly agreeable women also don't feel this deep sense of urging and need to prove themselves constantly to the world. They can be enthusiastic powerhouses in areas of their lives, but is she agreeable with you? Is she submissive, for lack of a better way to put it? And I think that word gets some negative connotations, but really it just means, does she follow your lead? Does she trust you to guide her in a healthy way for you, for her, and for your family? So as you see your girl kind of slipping in one area or another, we find that it's really important to instill dread as needed. Fort Worth has done a book on that. We've done podcasts on that. It's important to make sure that anytime anything comes up that is out of the ordinary or out of a range of agreeableness that you find pleasant to be around or adding quality to your life, that you need to say something right then. You know, you need to challenge that right then. You need to squelch it immediately. And we talk a lot about that calling out girls on their bad behavior is a moot point. That's true early on in dating, before she's truly locked in on you, before she truly trusts you. But if you're an established girlfriend, if you're married to one another, then you should be able to immediately say, that's not the behavior that I want to see in my wife. That is not behavior that I want demonstrated for our children. That's not behavior that I find acceptable, and I'm not going to be around it. So you can turn it around now, or you can whatever. You know, I mean, a lot of it has to do with your level of investment in her. But the bottom line is, if you have a wife or girlfriend who's not really being agreeable, you need to make very clear early on and hold that frame throughout your relationship that that's just not acceptable, because it's not healthy for the health of your relationship and it's not healthy for your quality of life. So I think that this is just such a critical element for couples to just look for in each other. You know, does he lead? Does she follow? Is she agreeable? Is she a great, does she, you know, automatically, even before you're married or even before you're serious, does she go out of her way to do things for you that add quality to your life, that help you, that make your life easier and more pleasant? Does she respond well when there are children around? Is she genuinely kind to your parents, to your siblings, to your children? If you are bringing children into the mix, already have children whenever you meet her, you need to look for all of these qualities from the get-go, whether you're just dating or whether you're married. And if you don't see them, depending on your level of investment, you need to either say that my quality of life is dependent on this and next her, or make sure that she knows that that is absolutely not acceptable. Real quick, I would love to know, where is everyone from who is watching this? Where are you from? And I'd love to know your age, because I'm always so curious as to our Buddy Church listeners and contributors. So just in the comments, in the chat, I would love to hear where you're coming from and how old you are. The last topic on tap this morning is how to get your girl more adventurous in bed. And you know I love these sex topics. They always make me happy. Look, I just light up just talking, knowing that there's a sex topic on tap now. I'm like, woohoo! So, how to get your girl more adventurous in bed. A lot of guys tend to try to go from 0 to 100. And that's a great way to keep her from wanting to be adventurous in bed. It makes her gun shy, it gives her a little bit of PTSD. She needs small steps to really become more adventurous. And it's kind of like that James Clear quote from Atomic Habits, where he's talking about, you know, getting 1% better each day, and at the end of the year you are, you know, exponentially better. You have an exponentially better life and habits. But if you stay the same or you get worse by 1%, you essentially go to 0. That all applies, in my brain at least, to this as well. If you take tiny little steps towards more and more adventurous habits and characteristics in the bedroom, you could turn around in a year and have a completely different sex life. Just completely. One that will blow your mind, and one that's probably better than you even imagined that it could be. But if you try to do too much too soon and jump too many steps, you're going to end up at 0. And you may end up with not even having a girlfriend anymore because she gets scared of things like that. That's a great way to scare a girl into not wanting to do any of it and being timid or overly cautious anytime you bring out anything new. So what I'd like to encourage you to do is there are a couple of rules to live by on this. Only introduce one new sex thing at a time. Don't introduce something new every single time. And take tiny steps. So imagine what you want your sex life to be with this girl. And then think of small incremental steps to get there. And just gently push a little bit each time. Just push against that boundary a smidge each time that you are challenging that. Again, don't challenge it every time. Don't always be introducing a new sexual position. Don't always be introducing a new toy. Don't always be going harder or pushing faster or asking her to do things that she hasn't done before or asking her to talk about things that she hasn't ever, naturally started saying. Incremental, small steps that she'll barely even notice, but will actually excite her and make her excited to see kind of where this goes, or go a long way in getting you a whole new sex life in a year. And then, it could look even better in another 5 years. But move her into more positions slowly. Don't always introduce crazy positions. Just change it up a little bit. Keep the habit going in your sex life that a routine does not become a rut, that you don't always do the same routine, that you don't always do the same foreplay, that you don't always have sex at the same time. Change it up so that it's just a normal part of your sexual connection to have new and exciting things happening. And then slowly introduce more extreme things. Maybe you are into something more like where you see the ropes, where you're tying her up and doing all this stuff. Maybe you find that very hot and you would like to do that. The ball gag, the whole thing. But you can't take a girl you just met in church and tie her up like a calf to a table and put a ball gag in her mouth the first date. It just doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. But after several times of exciting, fun sex with you, maybe you could tie a scarf or a tie on her wrists. Just a little bit of bondage, a little light bondage that is easy to get out of, but it gives her the sense of excitement and thrill and trust in you. Maybe something around her eyes to block out that visual sensation, so she has to feel more. That is always sexy, but it's something that is completely removable at any time if she's uncomfortable. Things like that just slowly tip the scale a little bit more into this more adventurous direction go a long way. But again, do not do something new every single time. Make it a habit to always have exciting sex, but don't always be pushing the boundary, because that will actually make her push back, and it's not fun. I will say, if you are trying to escalate your sex life, even slowly, and she's always resisting, if she literally resists everything short of quiet missionary in the dark, then you have to decide for yourself how important your sex life is. If you have a great relationship aside from this one area of your life, then you may say, I can live with this. I can live with quiet missionary in the dark. At least I'm having sex. At least I'm getting my balls drained, 2 or 3 times a week. I'm happy. She doesn't give me any grief in any other areas of life. It's a pretty good life. She's a good mom. She's a good wife. She keeps the house clean. She cooks like, a champ. She never complains. But this is the area where she's just not as comfortable being adventurous. You have to gauge for yourself how important that is to you. Now, if it's important, if she's just a girlfriend, you can say, this is a deal breaker for me, and, move on. If she's a wife, that gets a little bit more tricky. So just kind of gauge for yourself how important this is and how much you are going to push against her boundaries. The great news is, and Fort Worth and I have done a podcast on this before, a girl's disgust threshold elevates whenever she is aroused. So I have to say this slowly because disgust threshold is a mouthful. But this essentially means that things that she can't talk about outside of the bedroom, that are gross to her, that are, you wouldn't ever imagine her wanting to touch or feel, or a sensation that she might not enjoy all that much. A girl's disgust threshold raises as she's aroused. So fluids flying everywhere, things, playtime, sexual playtime that maybe is a little bit more risque or intrusive, for lack of a better way to say it. She will actually be more open to them the more her arousal is engaged. So as you slowly escalate the sex play in your life, her disgust threshold will also raise. Not always at the same level, but just know that as long as you are giving her a good time and she's not pushing back, then she is receptive to a little bit more and more levels of arousal, and her disgust threshold will also go up. So that is awesome. If you want her to initiate sex more with you, and men have very strong opinions about this. Men either wish that their girl would initiate sex more, or it's a massive turnoff. So if you are not turned off by, some men feel that it is a more masculine thing for girls to initiate sex. So if it's a turnoff for you, then ignore what I'm about to say. If it's not a turnoff for you, if you wish that you weren't always having to do the work to start things going, then tell her so. It's something that can be exciting to her also, if she just knows that you want her to be more actively involved and let you know when she wants things. So whether that means she's sending you more, encouraging you to send more sexy texts, if you're encouraging her to send selfies or dirty pictures, things like this to get her going throughout the day go a long way, because her imagination is your best ally. Her imagination is your best ally for foreplay and for getting her excited. So if you want her to initiate sex more, don't whine about it. That is incredibly unsexy. But say things like, what do you like? Ask leading questions. Ask questions that kind of get her talking about what her arousal's like. And then she will slowly become more and more comfortable initiating sex with you. Along those lines, I have to put in a shameless plug for my Fuck Like a Porn Star book, because it just fits. The great thing about it is, other than it just being wicked sexy, is that it's not only written to where men and women can both benefit from it and be comfortable reading it, but it talks a lot about this kind of stuff, like the things that women like and the reasons they like them, what they are uncomfortable with as a general whole, and what they maybe will fight against a little bit more. So it's a great book, great resource. If you want your girl to be more adventurous in bed, one great way is to arouse her more, excite her more in the bedroom, because whenever you're having a good time, you want more of it. If she is sexually aroused and enjoying her sexual relationship with you, she's going to want more of it. So just keep that in mind, and pick up that Fuck Like a Porn Star book if you haven't already. For work, do we have any great questions from these sexy, awesome people on here?
No.
No! That's okay. That's okay. That's what our Q&A hot seats are for. We need to do those more often. That was just fun.
It'll come to them later.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, that's okay.
goodness.
That's okay. Oh, thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for signing in here every Sunday morning. I know that there are a lot of things that you could be doing, but I appreciate you being here with us. I appreciate Fort Worth for always making me look good and keeping things on track in the chats. And even if you're watching this after the fact and aren't signed in live, I appreciate you, and I thank you for joining us today. If you are not already on my All Access newsletter, it is a subscription-based newsletter, and if you like my hot take and my bunny brain, then you will love getting those emails from me. I shoot for about every other day. So if you're not on that list, I would really appreciate you jumping on there, hopping on the bunny train, so to speak. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to this and every Sunday and this time with you. And look for even more video of various kinds in the future from me, because we're just getting started, baby. We're having a lot of fun, and we love having you with us. Thank you. Bye.